All right, so I am here with Ryan Burnett. What we're going to do is in Golang, there's support for virtual file systems, which we'll kind of cover more of what that means in a minute. But basically, you can build a file system into a binary in Go, and you can do this in lots of languages, but it's very easy to do in Go. There's good support for it. Um, and what we want to do is we've got a program called Git Deploy where there's some scripts that the user pretty much has to customize, but we want to give them a good template to start from. So we want to have this command that's going to be git deploy init, and then it's going to give them this directory of stuff that they have to work from, and then they run the program. And there's other programs that do something like this. Git is one that comes to mind where it has like a template directory that it will read from if it exists. I don't actually know if they implement an init. But anyway, so you can have this file system inside the binary where you do a read from the binary itself, whatever files were built into the binary, or you do a read externally. And what we want to do is be able to recursively copy out of the binary onto the file system, and there is not a good built-in way to do this. So that's the problem setup. And I've already done some searching. Let me see if I can find it over here. I had a window open over here. Actually, I'll just do the search again. So go recursive copy file system. And I think this was it right here, one of these two. This one was, if I remember correctly, this one was a little oversimplistic. Oh, this is the one that I wanted. So I'll go through each of these just so we can kind of discuss pros and cons, why I'm going to use the one I chose to use. So this is an excellent blog article here. Love it. Very simple. But what it doesn't cover is, it covers just basically copying a directory, but it doesn't copy permissions. It doesn't handle symlinks. So that's why this one, even though it's short and sweet, is not going to be a good base for us to start from. And then here, I think that this just links to some of the other stuff. So here's a project where some Docker project, Docker code that Docker uses internally to be able to do this for something that they include in their file system, apparently. So it's got this recursive copy going on. But that's not what we want. So I'm going to get rid of that one. Here, actually, I don't know if I looked at this one. This looks like the same one that was in the blog article before. Yeah. So this, I think that's the same one. I think that's just the guy's gist from his blog article. And this is the one that is the most complete. And it is the most complete because it handles permissions and symlinks. So you see there's a directory copy, there's a symlink copy, there's an lstat for differentiating between files and symlinks, changing chmod to change permissions. So this is kind of the most complete base that we have to start from as just very simple Go code that does a recursive copy. So any questions so far?
So far.
What? Did you say not so far?
Not so far.
Oh, okay. Not so far. All right. Let me see if I can make this as big as I can make it. I can make it as big as I can make it. All right. So I'm just going to actually, there we go. I'm going to call this, I don't know, VFS copy. That sounds like a good name for it.
Thoughts? I like it.
All right. So I'm going to do go mod init, and we're going to call this git.rootprojects.org/root/VFS copy. And yeah, that should do. And I'm going to, this is MIT licensed. So let me go back here, check the license on this. I'm pretty sure it's MIT. Yeah, the MIT license. Okay. So I don't remember exactly what the rules of MIT are. I think it's just attribution. So, and I'll do a PR with this guy to see if he's interested in what I come up with, but I don't think that he's going to be, because there's a difference between doing a virtual file system copy and a regular file system copy, which is that in a virtual file system, you're doing a couple of extra you have extra function calls that aren't necessary normally. Okay, I'm just going to get rid of all that. So there we go. I've copied his package, and I'm going to rename it VFS copy is the name. Cool. So probably what I want to start with is just testing his code to see that it works as expected. Oh, he's got something else in there. He's got some sort of options object, so there's more code. Let's see, all test.go, example test.go, options.go. There we go. Let's see. Sure, I'll go ahead and make this exactly like his is.
Can I ask you something about Go?
Yeah, you can ask me anything you want.
That both of those files had a const keyword with some stuff in parens.
Yes.
Is that a Go thing? What is that? What is that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm going to use JavaScript as an example because I know that you're familiar with JavaScript. If you in JavaScript, you could do like var a equals 5, comma b equals 6, comma c equals 7, and forgive that that's not aligned or anything. But you can have one var declaration, and then you could use commas to have multiple variable declarations for the single var statement. This is the same thing in Go. With Go, instead, you do var or you do const, and then you do this, and then you don't have commas or semicolons. So that's it.
Cool.
So, and in fact, I think that now is valid Go. If I save this, yeah, so that works. Cool. So that's all that is. Okay. So first thing I want to do, I'm going to create a command directory. And actually, let's create a fixtures directory. Fixtures, are you familiar with this? Like, commonly people call a directory fixtures where they put test fixtures in there.
Yes, from writing tests in Ruby. What was that Ruby library we used to use for tests? That was what introduced me to the concept.
What do you get when you mix an elephant with a rhino?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
It's been too long.
All right, so I'm going to put in here, let me just do touch because, well, I probably should put contents just to make sure, everything works. So this is hello. Yeah, let's make a hello.txt that's just hello. Make a foo.txt that's foo.
I think it was RSpec. Oh,
that sounds right.
Neither here nor there, but it was going to bother me until I remembered.
All right. So now I've got some files in a source directory that's a fixture, and I want to see if I can copy them. So what I'm going to do, I was thinking of making a command for this as an example, which I think I still will, but I'm going to make copy test.go, and we're going to do func test copy, I guess. Let's be a little more descriptive. Recursive copy is what we're up for. And then I need testing T, there we go. And then T.fatal, not implemented. Oh, and I need to import testing. I don't know why that didn't happen automatically. Sometimes when you don't have any imports yet, the automatic imports don't work. All right, so let me just look at this dude's documentation. Let me bring this up a little bit too. I probably should bring it up to there so we're not working at the bottom of the file here. Let me go back, see if he's got some Go doc on this. Go doc. Yeah, let's go to the Go doc so we can take a look. Looks simple enough. You pass in a source string, you pass a destination string, makes the stuff, you got some options. Yeah, so this looks good to me. I wonder how if if I resize this a little, if that will collapse out of the way. It does, but not until, whatever. I just hate the whole responsive design thing. I wish they'd just not make it responsive and just have it work everywhere. Whatever. So yeah, so that's I guess what we need to do is copy and then give it fixtures source, and then give it /temp dest. That's probably good enough to try this out and see if it'll work. And there's probably an error there. I need to change my theme so it doesn't do that on me. All right. I think that'll work because copy just returns error. Yeah. Oh, and it takes options. Options are optional on symlink. Specify what to do on a symlink. What's the default action? Symlink action. Looks like the default iota. It basically means 0, but it has a special meaning in that everything after it is going to be incremented. So this deep is going to be 0, and then shallow is going to be 1, and then skip is going to be 2. And that's by virtue of iota. And iota is often used for, this is basically an enum, but Go doesn't have explicit support for enums. So this is just kind of a way to have an enum. And in this case, he's not even typing. Well, I thought he did type. Yeah, symlink action. So this is symlink action is a type that's an enum, and it has 3 possible values: deep, shallow, and skip. Does that make sense?
Not at all.
Okay. So symlink action is an int. So
okay.
It's just saying don't allow any number. The number specifically has to be a number that is a symlink action number. And so then here,
that makes sense.
Deep would be an int. So 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, whatever. But instead of saying it's an int, we're saying we don't want any int. We only want an int that is a valid integer for symlink action. And then here we're defining which those are. So we're basically aliasing 0 as deep, aliasing shallow as 1, and aliasing skip as 2. So if I try to pass in the number 1 into a function that takes symlink action, even though that number 1 is in fact an integer, it is not an integer that is a valid integer for symlink action. So we have to pass in either deep or shallow or skip, and those are integers, but they are valid symlink action integers. Does that make sense?
That all makes sense. The part that throws me off is how you can gather that about shallow and skip just because they're on the next line after deep.
Well, it's because it's a const block. So this const block.
Okay, yeah, I get that.
And it's because there's an iota. So because the very first thing in the const block has a type, and then the next ones don't have a type,
they're assumed to be the same type.
Yeah, and because it's got iota here, then it is assumed that so I don't have to go 0, 1, 2 because I have iota. Iota is like a counter. And so it says every next line in a block where there's an iota, which this is technically not a block, but we'll call it a block, whatever. Every next line, iota increments by 1.
I would like to know what the proper term for that is in Go, but you've talked a lot about how Go is really an easy language, and I do think that it's very well organized, but I see a lot of situations like this in Go where there's a lot of information that you would miss if you were inexperienced because it's hidden in plain sight in the context. And I think it's a good thing, but I think it makes it hard for someone like me.
Yeah, it's definitely something that you do have to learn it. You know, it's.
Well, that's a problem for me.
Yeah. I'm a village idiot. What do you do? You're supposed to come back with some witty response that, lets us know that this is all in good fun and I don't really think you're a village idiot.
I'll work on that for next time. My facial expression really actually probably would have made that clear, but I'm not on cam right now. So
Oh, yeah, I don't even see you on my, I don't even know where we're doing this thing. Oh, okay, now I see it. Yeah, I've got you in my other window here. Anyway, all right. So, yeah, this should be good. I actually don't, I think this is silly that the default action is deep. Uh, I, no, the default action should be copy the symlink as a symlink. Like, I, what baboon decided to do it this way? This is okay though. So we need to put in options in here. Options, and then okay, it's getting too long. Got to make a new line. All right. On symlink. Wait, no. On symlink action, sync. What to do on a symlink? Really? I gotta make it a function? Fine, whatever. What was the function supposed to? It takes a string. Okay, so it takes a path. Is I'm guessing what that is. A source path, and then I need to return. Was it shallow? I think, and then
no, I don't think so.
Action. Well, what do you think?
I thought it returned a symlink action.
It does. It does. See, it returns a symlink action right there.
Right. Shallow is a symlink action. Okay.
Right. Okay.
That's what we just talked about.
Yeah, something's wrong with my formatter right now. Missing.
Maybe something's wrong with your formatting right now.
Oh, yeah. Yep. It is. It is. It is. Okay, cool. So we don't want to add permissions. We don't care about skipping anything. Sync the files after copy. I'm not worried about that. But it's good that that's an option. That's actually kind of a nice option to have. That, you know, if you want it to work, if it's done halfway. Needs an option to like skip if they're the same.
Are you sure you want that second argument to be? Yeah, you are. Never mind.
Yeah, and then this whole thing. This is, I don't know. I don't like the way that looks in the block like this. This looks kind of cray-cray. So, but the nice thing about this being in the block is like all of these, everything that's in the part of this block, it all gets garbage collected immediately. Or I don't even think it has to get garbage collected. I think it's immediately removed without worrying about garbage collection. Or if not, very, very soon after. Whoops. Hit the mic. So, like, to make this look nicer, I might actually want to do something like this. Opt. And then put opt here. Oops, ops. Let's call that ops. And then I could, there we go.
That looks a lot better.
Yeah.
But the is that, yeah.
But then what I could do, and this is kind of something where I'm kind of two minds about it, because it's not intuitive to most people because they're not familiar with block scope. At least in, so if I do this right here, it looks kind of weird. But what I did is I made sure that everything in this scope is going to get garbage collected sooner. Anything that expires that doesn't persist beyond the scope can get garbage collected right away.
I didn't realize you could do that in Go. And
Yeah, you can do this in most languages.
Can you do it in JavaScript?
You can
kind of,
but
like,
it doesn't actually work. So
right.
The syntax is valid syntax, but it does not have the expected behavior. Well, it does sometimes. Oh, JavaScript dumpster fire.
Yeah, let's not go there.
Yeah, okay.
This has like the potential of 1,000 suns, though. That's very, very useful.
Yeah, it's just something that is like if you're not used to languages that do garbage collection or reference collection, then that can seem weird. Like if you're coming from the Python, Ruby, JavaScript world, because it's something you more use in compiled languages. Anyway, I'm getting way off the beaten path here. So let's just try.
Try to stay on task here, AJ.
Yeah, that's impossible. Can't be done. All right, cool. So that all copied well. Let's go ahead and add a symlink and make sure that the symlink copies correctly as well. So I'm going to symlink foo to bar.sim.txt. All right, let's just call it sim.txt. Foosim.txt. There we go.
How about fem? Ah, too late.
And then let me just make sure. Okay, cool. So that looks good. All right, so that's my new directory. And then let's see what happens when I run the test again. Except here's a problem that you need to know about in Go. Go only tracks source file changes, and tests are cached. So let me see Go test without cache. There we go. So if you make a change to something that's not a .go file, when Go looks at it, it's like, oh, I already have the results of this test. I don't need to test it again. And so you can be editing like your fixtures and get very confused, being like, why is this not working? And you need to run test cache or clean test cache in order to make sure that your test actually runs again if you're changing something that is not source code.
Wow.
So, all right, and then let's see if did the symlink work properly. All right, cool. So that worked. Yeah, everything's working as expected. Cool.
All right, library's done.
Pretty much.
1.0.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just go ahead and seriously though, we've got something that's working. We know that it works. And I probably could have, used his test files. What in the world am I doing? Oh, git init. There we go. See, Git has an init function that does exactly what we're talking about. I should have put that in. Git has some sort of internal stuff in its binary. You call init, and then it templates it out.
Well, by the way, you were talking about Git. Git does. I don't recall it having an init, but when you run it for the first time, it does create a bunch of config files and other things in the directory with it that it references from then on, which is kind of the same thing as an init.
Yeah. So, I mean, some of them they're actually using the virtual file system features, and other of them it's embedded in the code. And we can get into that in just a second. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is I'm just going to start working on the virtual file system. I'm not going to go into VFSGen or Go bin data right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a virtual file system out of the actual file system. So I'm just going to call this vfs.go. And
so I have a question. This is not me asking the question. I'm just asking for a friend. But if my friend wanted to know what a virtual file system was, what would you tell them?
First of all, does your friend know what a file system is? Because it's like a file system. It's just, file system is actually on a hard drive. A virtual file system is inside of another file.
My friend says that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
But my friend also wants an example.
Well, we're going to get there. But first, I'm going to create a virtual file system out of an actual file system. So Go has I think it has 2 modules that work on this type of stuff that we want. It's got OS, and then it's got file path, I think is the other one. File path has walk. Anyway. So the standard virtual file system in Go is actually called http dir, I think. So let's do golang http dir. So it was primarily made to make static file servers in the HTTP module, but it turns out to be useful for lots of other things. And some people will import the interface from the HTTP library. This is not recommended because then you're including all of the HTTP library, potentially, depending on what the compiler optimizations end up being. Where is dir? It's going to be on this page somewhere. I probably should have looked at the index. It's probably right up there at the top in an easy to recognize place. Let me go back up to the index here. Wow, this page is long. So when it comes to, one of the reasons Go has these small and simple interfaces is so that they're very easy to reuse and copy. So here we've got type dir. And it returns a file. So I think, no, is it file system we're looking for? Okay, here it is, file system. This is it. We just want to copy this interface. We don't want to import HTTP in order to use the virtual file system. We just want to copy it. So now what we have And this uses HTTP file, which is different from OS file in some small but significant way. I think mainly that it's virtual rather than real. So we need to copy these two interfaces. So file system is copied from http.FileSystem. That's not really a good description. It's good to note that, but we're going to go with that for now. So this virtual file system, it just has an open method. So you give it a string, and it's going to open it.
What about I/O?
And it's going to return a file. I/O. We need to import I/O.
I/O.
So
You
off
need to
to work
import
I
I/O.
go. Oh, yeah, that works too. Okay, so I want something that can do new file system, which I forget what does HTTP do? HTTP's is just called dir. I think we should just follow what they do. Returns file. Is that file system is open? Dir returns. Okay, so this is just an implementation of that type. So yeah, let's go with type dir string. Yeah, we'll just copy this verbatim. So now our dir is in fact a virtual file system. Alrighty. So normally what we do here is we would just return os.open and then give it the name. Is that right? Okay, I need to read over this a little bit more for a second to make sure I'm doing this right. So we've got dir. This uses a native file system. Yeah, okay, so that's exactly what we want. We want to create a virtual file system from the native file system. Let me go look at their implementation. So I might as well just copy this probably. Yep. So the Go motto is a little copying is better than a little dependency. So it's pretty common to just go into standard library functions that you need to modify ever so slightly and just reuse them as is without, rather than trying to include something that potentially contains dependencies that you don't need. All right, so undeclared name file path. Why are my Go imports not working? I messed up something with my editor. Don't know what it is. Oh, and this I think is path/file path, and then we've got strings. There we go. Okay. And errors apparently. Huh. So strange. I'll have to figure out what's going on. And apparently we need path as well. Okay. Fine. All right, now are you happy? No. Map open dir map open dir open error. This is now I'm starting to copy more things than I was anticipating. But let's go ahead and copy it on over for the heck of it. Do you hear those monkey noises in the background?
No.
Oh, good. That's my wife and my daughter. Adeline loves monkeys because it's one of the few animals that have a sound that she can make very easily, I think. All right. So I copied this stuff over, and we're going to modify it, but this is just a good place to start. So now, rather than using OS directly, I can pass in a file system. So basically the whole goal here is, let me get back to the copy.go. So here we're going to see that he's using OS a bunch, and a bunch of different places. Oops. mkdir all. That's okay because that's for the destination. Particularly, we're concerned about the source. So it's going to be like lstat original. Let's see, lcopy. OS read link. So there's going to be some things that we need to re-implement for our virtual file system. I'm not actually sure how we're going to do read link. I'm going to have to look at the VFSGen documentation to see how they do it. Because I don't know if that comes in the file stat stuff. That might be a little hiccup here in this implementation. But anyway, what we want to do is instead of passing in a source, we want to pass in a file system. That's the change that we want to make. So we're going to pass in a source file system and then a destination string. And we can't really have a destination virtual file system, or at least not in this way. We could, but not in this way. Because we can't write data to the binary. The binary is already built. So we can only copy data out of the binary. We don't copy data into it. So hopefully that makes sense.
It does.
All right. So we got that. And then I might make this a little wider here. Okay. There we go. All right. So what was I doing here? Yeah, so we want to copy a source file system, which means that we need to have actually let's call this fs because I think we still do want a source string. So we want to do fs.lstat and get the info. I'm going to look at VFSGen lstat. Let's see what they're doing. Well, that's weird. I think this is actually an issue that I opened up. Let's see if I'm a participator in this. Okay, no. I was participating on that repository with a similar issue. Gosh, let me go check out the VFSGen documentation. Because most of these are just implemented with, I think we just call open and then check the mode. But the problem is if we call open first, then we're going to get the regular file mode, not the, link mode. Which maybe link mode isn't something we really need to worry about that much right now. So maybe I should just build it out without worrying about links and do this later. But I feel like links are pretty important. You know, I like to use them for sure. Okay, what else should I be looking for? Overview, usage, Give me the packages. Give me the packages. Imports, no. Subdirectories, doc. All right, options. Do we have anything in here about symlinks? I'm going to check the GitHub issues. See if nobody has talked about lstat This is not a problem that anybody has had, like ever. That just blows my mind. Okay, we're gonna ignore LStat for now. I'm not sure what we're gonna do for that later, but I'm just gonna make this a call to open. And let me double check the Go documentation here on regular, just normal Golang OS open. File. What the heck? So the file type should, yeah, okay. So the file type is going to give us file stat information. There it is, stat. Does this have an LStat? No, it does not. Yeah, so we got a problem here with symlinks in the virtual file system. We'll have to figure that out.
What does FileStat give you back?
It gives you back this, but
But that's what LStat gives you back too.
No, that's what stat gives you back. So, well, yes, the file info describes a file and is returned by stat and LStat.
Right.
But the difference is when you open a file, and I can confirm this in the documentation. When you open a file, let's go to func. No. Where's open? Open. Let's go confirm this. Open opens the name file for reading. If successful, methods on the return file can be used for reading. Associated file descriptor has read only. If there's an error, it will be a type path error. Okay, so this does not specifically say, but I'm pretty sure that open will call stat on the file, not lstat. And the difference is stat follows links, lstat does not follow links. Do you get what I'm saying there?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
I wish it said that on LStat in the doc.
Does it not say that on LStat in the doc? LStat returns file info describing the name
It
file.
does. LStat makes no attempt to follow the link. Never mind.
Yeah. And so we'll need to test this and see. But okay, we're gonna get a file system. The file system is gonna have still a source. The source is going to be relative to the file system though. So we're going to create a file system in the fixtures directory, and then our source is going to be dot. All right, so we need to follow this through and then just switch a couple of things so that they're using FS rather than using OS. And maybe I should call that VFS. All right, so switchboard, we probably need to put in here VFS, switchboard, VFS, file system. All right, got to put a to-do here because we lost our ability. I think on our virtual file system interface, we're going to have to implement LStat, and we're going to have to dig into the VFS gen code to figure out how to get that information. Which somebody's got to, I mean, I just can't believe that nobody has put LStat there. What about symlink? Somebody's got to be talking. There's no way. There's no way. That just blows my mind. Because VFS gen is like the most popular virtual file system for Go, as far as I am aware of. Okay. And again, we just need to edit all of these. Now need to include probably the VFS. So let me copy this here. And then if we end up not needing it in a couple places, I can take it back out. But I'm just going to assume that we're going to need it everywhere. All right, that's nothing new. That looks good. All right, so we were up at the switchboard. Let me go back up in the code here. We're going to follow down to, not going to worry about on symlink right now. So we've got dir copy and file copy and just regular copy. What's regular copy do? Oh, it's called by lcopy and by dcopy. Okay, got it. Alrighty, so we're going to make the destination directory. We're going to create, do we have anything here where we're actually, so vfs.open. Wait, what did I do back up here where I had my open? Info.open. Okay, so this would actually be file. And then, what was it? Stat? I'm just going to do it this way. I'm going to ignore the first error and just focus on the second error. If there is any. I think that'll work. That may not work actually because that might return nil. Let me go back up to that. Yeah, I actually need to do this both times. Okay. Switchboard VFS. What is this complaining about? Cannot use type file as OS file. Okay. Why not? Does it want like that? I'm confused. Where did S come from? Okay, I think what we need is just to have file. There we go. That's what we needed to do. Just going through here, updating everything to use VFS and use file, our virtual file type rather than the original file type. Okay, so here we can make our directory as dir. We'll give it, oops, all right, so here's our virtual file system. We're creating it from the fixtures directory. We're going to pass it into copy. We're going to pass in dot as the source. All right, I don't know if this is going to work, but I think it might work. So let me get rid of my temporary destination folder. Run my test here. And something weird's going on.
Yeah, how did you end up there?
I think because there's some place where source is being read. File path eval symlinks. Ugh. I think I need to revert the plan and just not do this with symlink support for right now, because there's just too many functions that are expected to work on a real file system like this one that are just not going to work on the virtual file system as it is constituted right now.
I already forgot why we wanted to support symlinks.
So that we can have them, so that
Yeah.
symlinks can be extracted. Like, I mean, like, if you're doing a tar archive or a zip archive, you expect symlinks to be there. So really,
Yeah.
it's just that. It's just I expect.
I didn't remember if we had a specific use case in mind.
No, not really. It's just it's just symlinks is one of those things where it's standard. So if I was going to create a library to handle extraction, I wanted it to support it. But I think I'm just going to have to skip it for now because there's too many little details about it that are going to arise. Um, yeah. Okay. Excuse me. os.readlink. Okay, we can't have any of the readlink stuff in here because that's not going to work. Okay, make directory all destination. That's going to be fine. So this, but this is never going to get called anymore because we're not supporting that. Whatever. Okay, copy file system source. On symlink, dcopy, fcopy. Switchboard. Fcopy. Okay. VFS open.
I have to step away for a moment.
Okay. Read source dir. Okay, so we can't have IOUtil read dir, but I think that this read dir is implemented in the HTTP version. Oops, going. Yeah, file interface has a read dir. So there, we're checking on info. We should just pass this in as a file. Arguments list is getting long. Oh, that is going to be os.fileinfo still. Fcopy. This is one of those cases where maybe, just maybe, starting with code that already exists is a little more confusing than writing it from scratch. Well, that's actually often the case. But I was hoping this would save significant time and it'd only be changes in very few places, but it turns out there's changes in more places. So DF. That's weird that there's error being passed in there. Wait, create destination. Copy from Wait, so this is saying... Is that right? Copy. So the writer... Yeah, okay. That makes sense there. Destination file, source file. Okay, this one might work. Content.name, file path, join dest. Okay, this should not be a problem. Okay, so without symlink support, I think that I have effectively replaced everywhere that it's been using OS for a source. All right, cool. So let's try this then. Huh, we're still getting that same... Oh, because we got to clear the cache out.
Yeah, don't forget to clear the cache.
Go clean test cache. I'm a little confused as to why that would be. All right, we don't need to worry about unsymlink. I can just copy out this whole thing. Or copy out, comment out. On symlink. Yeah. Just comment that out. So what's happening is that the source file is being joined not with the... For some reason, it's reading from the file system somewhere. This is probably like file path, one of these file path issues. Destination, that's not a problem. File path join, source-dir. Source-dir is probably getting messed up somewhere. Read-dir, source-dir. Okay, so this is a problem. What we need to do here is we actually just do file.readdir, I think is what it becomes. Well, yeah, because this actually becomes a directory. So the virtual file system implementation puts readdir rather than using from OS. It does readdir from the file object, which file object is really just a file system node. So a file object can be a directory, in which case readdir will work, otherwise it would return an error.
Well, it's got a capital D there.
Ah, right you are. Thanks for catching that. And then also this takes a count, which I think we put in -1 to say infinity. Where's that readdir defined at? Let me go look at the main OS package because it probably copies the main OS package. Yeah, here we go. It's going to copy exactly what an OS file does.
And is
In a single slice. Okay, yeah, that's what we want.
So is -1 going to do anything different than 0? Because it just says...
No, it is not. If it's less than or equal to 0. But I like to use -1 to be more explicit in cases where 0 does not mean 0. So where 0 means infinity and it's allowed, I like to use -1 because that makes more sense to me. Because yeah, obviously -1 is not a number and infinity is kind of a number, but not really a number. Okay, and the other thing is So directory copy. I think we can just ignore source dir here. We could probably even take that out because the file itself is going to be the source directory. Except it needs to get joined here. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Okay, in which case we're going to go copy D. All right, so IOUtil is no longer needed. All right, and how does file get used here? It just goes to the switchboard to check. Well, that's not good. Or is it good?
Would F go or would D go?
Well, if we're going from D copy, I think D needs to go. So D is going, which is good because that's going one level in. But then the problem is that it's keeping track of the source relative to the root. But what we actually need is maybe the source relative to the current open directory. I'm not sure on that one. All right, so it's going to check to see what is the newest source. It's going to go to switchboard. Switchboard is going to look at the source from what? Info is dir. So what happened in this copy? We did a skip. Yeah, we got a little bit of a problem here because the info wasn't changed. So yeah, this example might be too specific to the file system implementation. This may have been something better to just try to write from scratch rather than trying to copy. Because I was thinking, just make a little shortcut because this guy's already got the permissions handled. He's already got symlinks handled. He's already got the important stuff handled. So, just take his code, copy it, and then swap out a couple instances of OS for VFS and, hunky-dory, we're done. But I am now thinking that may not be the case because the way that he is passing around the source directory, it's growing it longer and longer. It's not really keeping the state the same. Like, I don't know where, I need to check and see where else is info changing. Info mode. VFS open. So do we have any other places we're calling VFS open? Yes, we do. Right here, fcopy, calling VFS open. But it seems like there should be in dcopy, we should be calling VFS open. In fcopy, we're not recursing. I guess I'm a little bit confused between the fcopy, the dcopy. Copy only happens in dcopy, so maybe... Okay, no, info was updated because we're going through each content. I'm going to rename this to info. I'm going to call it new info, right? No, it's not info. It is actually a path name. No, it is info right there. Okay, so yeah, let's call this new info. All right, that to me is better. Maybe new is not as good as next. I don't know, whatever. It doesn't matter at this point. But I'm definitely changing the name of contents because it's not contents. It's not bytes that it's reading. It's metadata that it's reading. Okay, so what we need to do now is we need to update our fixture. I mean, assuming that it's going to work, which I think it will. We need to update our fixture to have subdirectories. And then let's try running the test again. Haha! All right, so
Huzzah.
That seemed to work. Ooh, but it's not recursing into subdirectories. Where did that go? Okay, yeah. Try that one more time. Oops.
Cached.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just curious. Yeah, I didn't think it would. Man, that got me one time for like an hour. I was trying to debug a problem, and it was just that I'm like, why is it not updating the right files? Yeah, so dumb. And the worst part was, I'd put it in the console.log and then it would work. Or like I'd get further and then I'd run it again. So it was even more confusing because I'd go change the code and add a console. I'm like, why is it working when I add a console? Because the code recompiled. Okay. So yeah, so we've got a problem. It's not recursing down into directories. So why would it not be doing that? And I think the answer might be I'm still passing in dir rather than file. Oh man, this is annoying. I bet this is my problem. I need to do vfs.open. And this should be impossible because it should be impossible to get an error opening a virtual file system because the virtual file system is pre-built and baked in.
What if you...
I'm doing what I'm doing right now where it's not actually built in and baked in. It's a different type of virtual file system.
No, I was probably going to say something. Well, is asking for a non-existent file an error?
Yes, that is a not found error.
Well, couldn't that happen?
Yes. Well, it couldn't happen here because we're walking a directory structure. So we can't walk to a file that doesn't exist. So it should be impossible to get there, but if it's not a static file system, it is possible that between the time the process starts and the process ends, that some other process removes a file that was there a nanosecond ago. Mm-hmm. And there's actually a number of exploits based on that type of behavior. Okay. So I think the new path. This is kind of a weird way to go about it. Again, I think if I was gonna do this again, I'd start from scratch rather than using existing code and then just check existing code to make sure that I covered my edge cases and whatnot. But the way the virtual file system is behaving is actually different enough from the normal file system that this is kind of annoying. Okay, now let's see if we got our... actually, let me just do the tree thing again. Yes! Ha ha ha! Success! Cool. So first of all, I'm going to...
Hey, just curious, something I was wanting to ask, but I didn't want to distract you when I thought of it before. But now that the symlink support's taken out, I noticed that there must be something different about the symlink result. Would you do an LSAL and see what that is? I'm just curious.
Oh, yeah.
Just purely curious.
I'm going to do a laugh.
Yeah, just got a different mode.
Oh, that's interesting. Hold on. Wait a minute. Maybe
I think I know why.
open may not be like stat. Open may actually be doing the right thing. Okay. So let's take a look at this. DST. That would make me happier. I just wish they would put that in the documentation if that is the case.
So you think it's because... Well, why do you think that happened?
Well, first of all, let's see what it actually did.
I just assumed that the mode was on an object that it didn't get as an argument, and so it had a default mode.
No, so a symlink has a mode of executable. But so it, yeah, let me... If we look in our fixtures here...
Yeah, did it get the mode of the symlink itself?
I think that's what happened. Yeah, so see, symlinks have a funny mode, and you can't change them. Well, you might be able to add writable, but symlinks are always executable. It's part of what a symlink is.
Right.
Not that, yeah, just like directories are executable. It means like you can open it or you can follow it. I guess maybe you could remove the X attribute, but then you can't read the symlink. So it like R and X kind of go together on this. Anyway, so I'm wondering. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and commit because we got something working here. So. Works with virtual. All right, so maybe I jumped the gun then. Let's go back into this code. Where I didn't jump the gun is I don't know how you do a read link on... Because I think that's like a syscall. Let's go to read link. Do we have a read link? We have a read link. Stat. I mean, typically what happens in a virtual file system, if something is marked as a link, then you just read the contents of the file, and the contents of the file in a virtual file system are the path to the link. But on a real file system, you use read link, which will give you it'll do a syscall on the file system to get what the link's destination is. So this is where I don't know that symlink support is going to be as hunky-dory easy as I was hoping. So let me go to where there was the read link that's commented out. So that was with lcopy. Okay, do we even use lcopy anymore? I don't think we even use it. I think I could have just commented this whole thing out. So I need...
Sorry to step away again, but I have to step away for a moment.
Okay, go ahead. I'm going to implement read link. Let's go into our VFS. right. Let's see. Okay, so I'm just copying. Whoop. Read link. VFS read link undefined. No, it's not undefined. I just defined it. You silly. Oops. Did I not just define it? Yeah. Yeah, dir. Yeah, it's defined. It's right there. Read link. String name. All right. So what I did here was I'm letting it do the same stuff that it's doing up here, basically to resolve the relative path to an absolute path or an absolute enough-ish path. We're going to read link and then let's see, opening name. Bless me. About opening files and non-directories and okay, so that's probably just fine the way that it is. Okay, yeah, I don't think that's of excuse me. Don't think that's of too much value. Probably would be well enough just to whatever. Anyway, we don't want to say this is going to be a path error because it could be. Right now we're just putting a virtual file system around the existing file system. But we might want to change that. Well, we will want to change that. Oh, files. Okay, I see what it's saying. So what I need to do is I need to update file system to have this function signature because that's the interface. So I had the implementation had it, but the interface did not have it. So that's good enough there. Oh, and then, yeah, that makes sense. We want to not return nil, but empty string for any of these. Cool. Good enough. All right, let's see if we can run this test again. And actually, I don't think I finished uncommenting the code that handles the symlinks. So I need to go uncomment that code on symlink. It'll be interesting to see if this works that way or not. All right, so we got the info, and I think we added file to this. So what do we got here? Eval symlink. How is that different? What? Eval symlinks. Huh. Let's see what this is about. How is this different from read link? Returns the path after the evaluation of any symbolic links. If the path is relative, the result will be relative to the current directory unless one of the components is an absolute symbolic link. Eval symlinks calls clean on the result. So I think read symlink is not as good as eval symlinks. Because read link only reads one level, eval symlinks reads multiple levels recursively. So for right now, because I don't want to deal with it, I'm just going to do vfs.readLink, but I agree that I need to do eval symlinks here. And then, so I read link, I get the original, I'm lstatting. Nope, I just want to do, we don't want to do this like this. We want to do, get the file. So vfs.open. I'm not sure if that, I can see why people don't want to handle symlinks in virtual file systems. It gets a little funny. Anyway, I think we have what we need. I'm going to try this one more thing, and then I'm just going to call it good enough for now, and then put in the documentation doesn't handle symlinks properly yet. Because other than the symlink support, it works as it's supposed to right now. Bring that up a little bit. So I don't think you missed much, because I hear that you're back now. I can tell.
I am back. I didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah, don't interrupt my monologuing. I've got important monologuing to do.
I was expecting symlinks to be working properly by the time I got back. I'm a little disappointed.
Yeah, well, I'm only human. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. So the file system module was one of the ones that was done early on and kind of codified prematurely. So I think that there's actually some things about the way that OS and path and file path work that is not very what I would call Go-ish. Like, for example, there's multiple ways to read a link. There's multiple ways to get file stats. They implemented the virtual file system at some point, and then they didn't go back and then really make the OS module compatible to that. There's just like a lot of small little quirks. I mean, still, I think it's a great library. I think it's much better than what you get in almost every other language. But because they did add some of these cool features later on, it's kind of sad that we have to deal with some of the legacy of them not having been aware that they were going to add that at the very beginning. So there's just like some weird stuff where like IOUtil and OS and file path all have things for links that seem like they should have been in the same place. Anyway, what I do want to know is if this actually gets called, because I don't think it does. But let's see. We'll find out right now if os.open is returning lstat or stat.
So, because lstat should call on symlink.
Yeah. Oh, come on. What is going wrong here? My tools, they're not working for me today.
Thumped.
Okay, lstat happy. Yeah, another thing that we want to do is we actually Okay, that looks... Hey, look, it created the symlink properly. Cool, so we magically got symlink support, at least for a virtual file system that's already a file system. But
Cool.
we're not, like, a true virtual... Our abstraction layer over the real file system as a virtual file system functions the same way that a real file system functions, aside from...
Well, can we do a test that's not an abstraction over a real file system?
Well, you mean like a test with a virtual file system?
Yeah, because we're not doing that, right?
Right. So yes, we can. But I'm going to need to make a couple of changes here real quick, and then we can move on to that. So what I'm going to do is full name. First, I'm going to abstract out this stuff that is going to get called every single time regardless. There we go. Because now I've got 3 methods that need the same code. So at the point of 3, I think it's time to abstract it away into a function. And then we need an eval symlinks similar to this. Which really, no, I don't want to have that. I don't want to have, I don't know. Okay, sure. Yeah, it makes sense to do it. Okay. All right, what are you complaining about? Too few arguments to call and full... Oh, yeah. Name. Yep. Same here, we want name. Same here, we want name. Yeah, this could probably be cleaned up a little bit later. And then here, we're worried about returning a string. Here we... I don't need that then. Sure. No. Okay, I'm going to do this. Full name. No, I'll just call it name everywhere. I'll just call it name. All right, what are you whining about? Okay, so that should be good now. Let me go back into copy, go where there was eval symlinks. And then this should just be VFS eval symlinks. Oh, and I need to go add it to the interface. Alright, and then what else needs to be done here? Can't use VFS type as file system. Missing method. I just implemented eval symlinks. What are you talking about? This is crazy talk. I didn't use the same capitalization. Fine. So sue me. Alright, let me get rid of the destination directory, run the go test. I already regret putting in symlink support. That was stupid. I shouldn't have done it. It was a bad idea. I was trying to be cool and clever. Robust. It was bad. Shouldn't have done it.
Robust. What a good buzzword. Is this library web scale?
Oh, dude. No, it's not. And let me tell you why. Because, I mean, there's a couple of reasons. I'll point them out to you in momentarily. Let me link to... Whoops, no, I didn't want to do that. I just wanted the link, actually. There we go. Yeah, because like now... All right, so... Alrighty. So this should suffice, I think. Oh, except that's not bash. Let's go. Okay, now I need to add some dummy methods on this thing that is going to be VFS. So I need to type all right, so we got http file system. Gosh, what am I trying to do here? Hey, it knew what I wanted. Let's see if we can do that again. Hey, it did what I wanted again. Sometimes tab 9 is pretty cool. Like, I don't know. That was cute. It just saved me a bunch of typing.
It's small victories in life, you know?
Yeah, return v dot read link. Let's see. Oh, I forget whether read link returns. I think it returns an error. Oh gosh. I think it returns an error if something is not a link. Let's see how it's implemented here. And make byte fix count. Syscall read link. Name. Fix count. All right, well, this is just fine to say return errors dot new not implemented. That's fine. That's actually perfectly valid for both of these. Actually, name. There we go. What do I do for the other one? Alrighty. All right, so I think what I do here. There we go. Alrighty, let's run the test again, see if it still works. Looks like it still works. I'm gonna call it good. All right, so now the question is on like how do we create a file system that is not the native file system, and why
don't you use VFS Gen?
I will. That's what I was going to say. We can do that.
What's a fox symlink support?
Well, a fox is an animal that kind of chirps like a dog.
So what does the fox say?
It's like it's kind of like that. It's a secret sound that no one knows. It's an ancient mystery. Okay. Yeah. So now.
By the way, I didn't need to take 3 years of French in college to know that the word is pronounced faux. That was a joke.
All right. So now what we need is VFSGen. And I'm trying to think how we want to do this in terms of let's see. How do we want to do this? This is kind of an example. I'm going to make an examples folder. And then, well, I don't know. Maybe I should make a fixtures folder. I don't know. Let me take a look at my standard implementation here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take our fixtures directory and we're going to turn that into our virtual file system. And I'm going to create a tools package. Oh, whoops. Let me go. Oh, la, la, la. What am I doing? Typoing. I'm making typoing. You know why? Because I'm typing, and typing leads to typos. That's why I always tell you.
Yeah.
Don't type. Typing.
You know, unrelated, but I was thinking the other day, how come when you can't find something, you always find it in the last place you look?
Yeah, I know. Just go there first, right? It's insane. It's insane the way the world works. All right. Oh, that makes sense because that is not this package name. I need to update this package name. So what did we call this one? rootprojects.org/root/VFS copy /assets. There we go. Okay, so now there's an asset package that I don't have to use, but I can use. So now I can create a test using the assets package. So if I import I should have assets.assets now. Call this native recursive copy. And then we'll have here a virtual recursive copy. And instead of doing dir, I'm going to do assets.assets is my VFS. Can't find package. Oh, I know why. I named it wrong. Let me go back to that. There we go. Oh, oops. Huh. Okay, well, I guess I do have to copy in from the http file system for this. So where's that gonna go? I should put this in a sub package so that it's not required for using this, but I'm not going to do that right now. Because you shouldn't have to have the HTTP package in order to use a virtual file system that may or may not rely on an HTTP package. I think it's going to work. Oh no, it failed magnificently.
Magnificently.
Very magnificently. I mean, that's a lot of stuff there. Stack Overflow. Okay, that one failed because file exists. That's fine. This one failed. I'm not sure why it failed. Not clear on that. Again, I already regret the symlink support many times over, but I'm going with it because I'm a glutton for punishment. You know, like I just like hurting myself. I wake up in the morning and I think, how can I make today worse than yesterday? And then I implement symlink support in a virtual file system. That's you know, that's my MO. Okay, what do I need to do, man? What did I screw up here? What is so different about these two things that one works and the other doesn't work? Eval symlinks. Maybe eval symlinks is supposed to return an error not implemented as well. Let me check out what it says here, because I just assumed that eval symlinks returns path from evaluating any symbolic links. That means 0 or more. If path is relative to the result, symbolic link calls clean on the result. But we shouldn't have that. Okay. I don't know. I don't know what to. I'm gonna look. I'm gonna look at the generated code. Assets VFS data, and I'm gonna look at the symlink. Name. Content. Okay, so maybe read link should just return the contents. Okay, that's... So it does handle symlinks. All right, so read link does not need to return error not implemented. Read link needs to return v.filesystem.open. And that should give us a file and an error. So here's the potentially good thing, though. Obviously, this is not something that's very much needed because it doesn't seem like anyone's doing it, or it's not on the front page of Google at least for results. So maybe this isn't very necessary for most use cases, but it's something that isn't done before. So publishing it means that at least I've published something that is useful to the small subset of people that need it, which after 10 years of Go being in existence seems like it must be zero aside from myself. But I don't know. Well, no, because I know other things implement this, but I think what they do is they just put it in the code, like what Git does and that Docker thing. They just put it in the code, and it's not in a separate library. But I feel like this is just on that edge where it has just enough complexity that it actually, feels like it kind of deserves a library, because it's not just a copy-paste snippet like, oh, I'm done. Like, you do have to think about it a little bit. I think that makes it worth exporting. And importing IOUtil here is kind of heavy-handed, but I'm just going to do it for now.
You don't want to get into I'm just going to copy one function. Oh, wait, 5 functions. No, 7 functions.
Yeah, I don't want to get into that. Well, it should be simple enough. So here's the thing. Like, in the general case, well, I don't know. Like, the thing is you have to put a limit on how long a file system name could potentially be. So, like, I would say 256 characters would be reasonable, but we know that there are directory lengths that go deeper than that. Like if you're ever doing anything with NPM, for example. And so it just, like, this is going to create a buffer that's probably too large. It's probably going to create like a 1 kilobyte buffer to start. But I mean, whatever. It's not that big. Like I would create a 256 and move up, and it can get garbage collected pretty quickly. So whatever. This is going to work. But it's just, it's when you're dealing with things that you're statically compiling, you want to, again, a little copying is better than a little dependency, because sometimes you end up bringing in a lot more of a module than you expect, and it's not going to get tree shaken out, and it ends up in the binary, and it's like, well, that binary is kind of big for how little it does. But it's because, it's got one little utility function that depends on other. Again, it's not as big of a problem in Go because Go is designed to avoid that, but it still is a problem nevertheless. Okay, so that's still a problem for me. So that did not completely solve it. And I think the problem is my eval symlinks. So eval symlinks is definitely a problem. So what it should do is, let's create a loop here. And we are just going to and this is kind of potentially dangerous. Like, why are we eval symlinks? Yeah, this I should have removed the deep. In fact, you know what? I am going to do that. I'm going to make my life easier. I'm going to love myself, and I'm going to remove this deep copy case, because I just don't think it's a good case. I really don't. I don't think you should be doing deep copies from a virtual file system, because then you get the problem where you're copying a symlink from somewhere else. Like, like I could copy Etsy password. I could put in my virtual file system, I could put a symlink to Etsy password. So I just don't want to do that. I don't want to do deep links. I don't want to support it. I'm going to take it out. It makes sense for, what the original author's use case was. Totally makes sense. But we're just going to call this skip. Well, actually, I think the default action, the default action should absolutely be a shallow clone. There we go. Those are our two options. That looks right to me.
Looks good.
Okay, and then I'm gonna go back in here and I'm gonna get rid of this nonsense because this is only gonna lead to pain and suffering. And Yoda taught us about that.
I was just about to say that.
But I'm going to leave it in here just for reference, the implementation that I've got there. I'm going to comment it out here. Okay. There we go. The world's a better place now.
Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
That's right. Don't you forget it. Okay, and this is not faux symlink support. This is real symlink support. So wherever I put faux in there. Or maybe, I hope I'm not being stupid about this. Like, did I miss something? Is the http file system? No, it's just got open. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. So it's weird. They just didn't implement the symlink support, but symlink support is like it's pretty much built in. It's easy. Okay, now I'm confused. All right, so let's see. What is this doing over and over again? VFS 37. Should have actually looked at that line of code. Okay. Oh, oops. That's all. Calling itself rather than calling its file system. There we go. Cool. So it totally failed. Oh, and it's still. All right, sweet. So I need to. Oh, I hate doing this. I need to actually write a test that proves that the files were extracted. So what I think I'm going to do is let's just take a look at our fixtures here. And I don't really want to implement the test for it right now. I know what I should do. What I should do is I should make a walk after everything's copied. Then I should do file path dot walk actually I should do it of fixtures. Oops. I forget what walk's function signature is. And it's got a string and a walk func, and a walk func is a func that takes a path and a file info. Okay, so this actually was giving me the right thing, and an error. And then an error is its possible results. Okay, I'm going to write the test. I'm going to be a good little boy. I better get brownie points for this.
Brownie sounds good.
Okay, so I think what I want... I think I need to strip the root. This test is only going to work on Mac and Linux. It's not. It's going to fail on Windows because I'm going to use normal paths, and I'm not going to do all the garbage you got to do to fix that. Okay. The actual code does handle Windows paths just fine, but I don't want to do all that shenanigans in the test code. Okay, fixtures, src. So really, I just need to say lin of root path should give me things after that lin. Okay, what is wrong here? Ryan, what am I doing wrong? Help a brother out.
I'm not seeing it. I don't see it.
Okay, I've got that. I've got my function. My function looks good.
Go down one line. I don't understand that where it says path, lin, root, and then a colon.
Oh, it's just saying this is the same thing as doing a slice. So it's like, you know, if you're in JavaScript, then you do like, you know, say slice 5.
Oh, okay.
That's what it's saying is like.
So what's the colon? What does the colon mean there after root and
It
parens?
just means it's like, so if you wanted to go 5 to 10 in JavaScript, you'd call .slice 5 to 10. If you wanted to go 5 to the end, then you'd just call 5. Same thing here. If I wanted to give it a specific number, I'd give it a number, but I just wanted to go to the end.
Ah, I see.
All right. I think I see what my problem is. There it is. That's it.
Oh, it was right there. Still doesn't like it.
It's because I didn't import OS. For some reason, Go imports isn't working. I wonder if it's not. I wonder if I updated Go and I didn't reinstall Go imports. No, looks like I did. I'll just have to go and check, I guess. Okay, so now, right now I'm just going to have it print out because I don't remember what the path string looks like. But my guess is that it's going to give me, oh, bless me, something that looks like this. So I'm just going to print it out so I can see, and then I'll go and check, and I'll make a table test that checks and makes sure that the files exist. And just so I can say that I've got the test in there and it's provable that it works. All right, let's get rid of all that. Crap, I need to run with -v. Oh, I still got my lstat happy in there. Let's get that out of there. I think I actually put that in one of the... Yeah, they should totally put in the documentation that does a proper LSTAT. It's just one of those things. It's so easy to get confused on. Okay, cool. So it looks like it does exactly what I was expecting it to do. I'm going to do something kind of dangerous. I'm going to make my test
TPM'der.
well, you know, you got to have your TPM reports. They go in the TPM'der.
TPS reports.
TPS reports. My bad. And while I'm at it, I should probably use like mktempter, whatever that is. Oops. There's probably like mktemp. There we go. Returns the default directory used for temporary files. Do we have an mktemp? Mktemp? No. I'll just make it more descriptive. There. Remove all, that's what it is, not rmdir. See, that's the thing about tab 9. It gets you, because it like, gives you false options that aren't real sometimes.
Yeah, most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time, actually. You're right. All right, there we go. And then I have my destination. Is my tempter. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to check os.lstat filepath.join tempter with relative. I think that's all I need. And then maybe I do need, let's see, walk path, lstat, so let's say that this thing, it's all the same. Okay, so if what do I want? S.mode not equal to D.mode. Return errors.new did not copy file mode. I think that's, and then maybe if the sizes are different. Did not copy full file size. All right. Cool. So if anything goes wrong here, if it's not the same type, or if it's not the same size, then that's an error. All right, looks like everything passed. Now I can feel better because I know in my heart that it worked as it was supposed to. Wait a minute.
Did it though?
That's a good question. No, it didn't. Wait, what happened this time? I'm so confused. Because it said that it copied over the same.
Delete everything and do it again.
That is the correct solution. That is it. Okay. Foo sim contains foo, but it's not a symlink. I'm a little confused. I'm going to look at my assets directory here. And I'm going to see foo sim. Foo sim. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so VFSGen does not handle symlinks. I thought that it did. It doesn't.
Oh, gonna have to rewrite that too.
Nope, it doesn't have full symlink support. That's fine. Well, okay, this is weird because it doesn't give the mode information. Dir info, file info, no symlink info. Huh. I love this. Not worth gzip compressing. It's kind of fun. So mode. Oh, come on. So, apparently, it does not store as much information as I thought. Okay, so this means that the way to do this would actually be, if we're not going to overcomplicate this any more than we already have, and by we I mean I, the way to do this would actually be to tar up the directory, include the tar file, and then unzip the tar file into the destination directory.
If you needed symlink support.
Or if you needed permissions to be copied. Because this one does not copy permissions correctly. I did not realize that. I thought that it did, because that just seems like, a smart thing to do.
You should write a blog post about this.
What would I write?
I don't know. Should have made a video.
Well, I've got a video. It's recording right now. We're like, let's see how far. I thought this was going to be like an hour. What are we, 2 hours in? We're 2 hours in. We're 2.5 hours into this. It's never as simple as it seems, ever. Anyone who tells you otherwise is a fool.
Well, I think this is a good 1.0.
It is. We're done. We're done.
Yeah.
So the question here is, the only reason I have the assets directory is for the purpose of the tests. Like, I don't have it for any other reason. So I'm just wondering what the best way to handle this is. Because when somebody imports this, they should not have to deal with, they shouldn't get extra crap, right? Like,
right.
When we export this as a library, we don't want someone to have all, million dependencies that we depend on, which, we don't really have that much, but we do have some that are not necessary for the general case. It's only necessary for the test, and usually goes pretty good about that, actually.
Is this where build flags come in?
That's a good one.
Am I totally off base there? Or?
Well, let's see. Do we need build flags? We don't need build flags for this. I think that would be a good solution in many cases, but we don't actually need the build flags for this. Internal assets. I think I also need to change. Yeah, I do. I need to change this to internal. I kind of move both of those into test. It feels like it's deeply nested, but I think that's where it deserves to go. I'll hold off on that. It's already internal. It shouldn't matter. I think that because it's not imported. Oh, it can't be an internal package. Okay. Well, that's too bad. I don't like this being called assets. Test assets, maybe. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to rename fixtures source to assets. I guess files. Or FS. Sure. I'm going to rename assets to fixtures. I'm going to get rid of assets VFS data. Assets dev is going to be renamed. There we go. This is now package fixtures. That makes sense. And this is now fixtures. And then this, let's see what the tests. That'll use fixtures, and then it'll be fixtures.assets, I think. And then instead of fixture source, it's fixtures FS. Let's see, package fixtures, fixtures, assets dev, okay, go generate, go test. All right, cool. We've reached V1.
Dun, da, da. I feel like that was my main contribution to the video. Good. Or perhaps it was the Yoda impression.
I think the Yoda impression was pretty solid.
Comedic relief, I add.
Is there anything else you'd like to hear me say in a Yoda voice?
I mean,
before we wrap?
I'll know when I hear it. That's kind of how I feel about it, you know. There's one more thing I need to change about the test, which is I need to do my remove all. Basically, I guess I need to defer.
I've got one.
Do or do not. There is no try catch.
But I'm not using any try catches.
I know. That was bad.
I mean, A for effort.
I tried.
You do get an A for effort. All right, cool. So now we've got good setup. Tear down on the test directory. What I'm a little confused about is how this doesn't fail, because it seems like this should fail. Because the mode is not the same on the source file and the destination file. I'm a little confused about that. That's one thing I want to investigate before I call this complete.
Well, print them and see what they are.
I will. First,
There's no chance you're returning before you get that far?
lstat source, lstat destination. Well, it's only if I'm returning an error.
Oh, yeah. I saw the return nil up there and I was confused. In fact, why are you returning
Where?
nil on that one? Go up like 4 lines.
Oh. Good eye, good eye. I don't know. That was a typo.
Does that mean that error could have been thrown and you wouldn't
That's
have known?
right.
Uh-oh.
Maybe it's all wrong. All right, let's try this again. Go test.
I'm scared.
That doesn't feel quite right to me. What's going on here? Am I reading the source? Ah, ha 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 ha. Oh, that's rich. That's just
Well, yeah, they really couldn't have been different because they're the same thing.
yeah. All right. So what I'm going to do. All right. So. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just log this as a warning because there's not much better I can do, really. I don't think. All right, lstat. Oh, okay. So I still do need to use rel here. That's correct. All right. Well, maybe I just do path. Maybe I don't need to do any of that. Right there. Whoops. this going to work? Okay. I feel good enough about that. So if the implementation supports symlinks, it supports symlinks. Otherwise, it doesn't support symlinks. It's testable. Doesn't cause the test to fail. All right. Oh, gosh. Oh, now we got to put it on a repo, man. And then we got to get it implemented in Git deploy. Oh, that hurt my heart.
It was painful, wasn't it?
That hurt my heart. My heart hurts.
So I thought you were creating the GitHub repo first and then making this a mirror.
I was doing that. But for this one, I don't foresee anyone contributing to this.
So you're just going to keep it here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I could. Should I put it on GitHub?
Oh, well, it's however you want to do it. It just seems like you might want to be consistent.
Blah, 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 blah. All right. We'll go over to GitHub. We'll create a new repository. Put it under root. One day I need to go remove myself from all these junk organizations. Like all the CoderWall stuff. I don't think CoderWall has lasted very long as a company. I'd be very surprised if they're still around. All right, we'll make it public. Oh, we do need to add a license to this. It needs to. Oh, we need to do attribution. I forgot. Woo. Yeah, let's make sure we do that. Oops. License.
I'm away again.
All right. Oh, what was that thing the other day? MIT something something. Yeah, that works for me.
Adopted or adapted?
That's a good question. I don't know. What do you think?
You should just let tab 9 write that entire paragraph. Like no input, just let tab 9 do what
I
it
think
wants to
you're
do.
right. Okay, we use the recursive native file system copy implementation. All right. Alrighty. So Go bin data was another one of those things where somebody just committed internet suicide and deleted all their stuff. It's one of those popular projects that just disappeared off the face of the planet, and somebody else had to post a fork of it. And then people argued about the forks, and VFSGen is obviously the best one, but Filebox was the first to support Go modules, so I used Filebox until VFSGen was updated for Go modules, and then I started using VFSGen. For a lot of the tooling dependencies, it was really difficult in that time period when Go modules were being transitioned to, because a lot of the tooling had like not weird, but the existing dependency systems or no dependency systems, and bleh. It was a pain. All right, so now I'm over here at GitHub, VFS copy. All right, recursively copy Go virtual file systems such as Go bin data, VFSGen, and http.FileSystem. Sounds good?
Sounds good.
There we go. Oh, whoops. I didn't finish adding the... All right, so let's tag this as... I feel like it's a solid 1.0. Like, it does exactly one thing. It does what it's supposed to do.
I feel like you should... How about 0.30.0? So it really looks like a lot of work went into it, but it's not quite at version 1.
I think that's ghetto. I think that's. I think I
I
should
get
fix
it.
this though. Let's see. I'm gonna see if I can. Do we want to do this? Oh, and yeah, there's a couple things I didn't do here. I didn't make our VFS copy a link. Let's see, git.rootprojects.org/root/VFS copy. All right. You know what? We also, there's another change I'm going to make. This should be called copy all, not copy. Because that's kind of the standard.
Does that follow the pattern of the other library?
So we've got remove all, we've got mkdir all. So yeah, I'd say copy all follows kind of the standard pattern, which means
Sounds good.
okay. So update the README here. Okay, let me get this in place here. New mirror, new migration. Get the clone URL from GitHub. This repository will be a mirror. Don't make it private. Name is VFS copy. Description is whatever the description is. Copy. IO copy. Okay, that's all good. Now I think it's ready. Now I think it's ready for that nice, beautiful 1.0 label. Okay, now let's test it out by going into one of our other projects and just adding it as a dependency. So here we've got our assets directory and git deploy. And what I want to do is include the examples. So let's make assets. Let's see. I think we can only have one. Oops. All right, public. And then Do you hear that? Somebody's revving up the engine.
I heard a noise, but I couldn't tell what it was.
Somebody's going to take their boat out into the desert with their big pickup truck.
Why would you take a boat to a desert?
Oh, Utah's a desert. People go boating. It's kind of weird, but it happens.
Is there water in the desert?
Well, there's the Salt Lake. Yeah, there's a couple of lakes.
I thought the Salt Lake was just salt.
Yeah, a little bit of both. You know, there's an actual lake, but
So there's water.
there's the Salt Flats and there's the Salt Lake, and the Salt Flats are the dried Salt Lake, and then yeah. So the Salt Flats are like the federal land that has no speed limit that you can, take experimental craft on. All right, let's see if I can get this init. I'll do examples dot open dot env. No, that's not what I want to do. All right, so I want to do VFS is VFS copy new VFS examples dot assets, and then VFS copy all. If os dot open scripts dot deploy dot sh. There. All right, so now I'm going to implement this. Okay. Okay. VFS copy. Assets public. Did we fix this? No, we did not. So that needs to be renamed to public, as does its counterpart. Make sure that we got that right. Yeah, we got that right. And then this one needs to be renamed as well to examples. this one. All right, we're about to see in all of its glory if this thing actually works. Um, 28. I don't know why I did that again. How odd. Oh. Alrighty, expected a new line. 138. What did I do wrong? All right, I think we got it. Sweet.
Yep.
We now have a get deploy init. I think I wanted to skip directories.
I want some help with get deploy. Do you want to keep the video rolling, or do you want
Let me
to
wrap
wrap
this
it up?
And then maybe start another one. Oh gosh, I wonder if my camera's full yet. I don't think it'll hold 3 hours. It probably cut off at some point.
Did it?
Probably.
You know what you should, just like you were talking about, you know what you should do is you should stream this stuff.
Well, I don't know how. I mean, well, I have something hooked up with Twitch, but then you have to get followers and...
No, just do it on YouTube.
But I don't know how to do that.
We'll figure it
You-
out. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
We'll do it
All right,
together.
that sounds fine. Okay, so the last thing that I need to do before I call quits on this is, let's see, I should probably print done at the end. I mean, it's just nice to print done. I feel like it's a polite thing to do. So you know that, you know, for certain there was no error. And then also... I want to open the path, and I'm just going to assume that there can't be an error on opening a path that is a virtual file system. So I'm just going to skip checking the error, and then I'm going to say if f is dir, mode.isdir. f.stat .isdir. What's going on here? No, not state, stat. Fine. Uh-oh, what's going on? The computer's getting slow. Okay, cool. Now I think we're ready to call this good. Bum 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 bum. Go build. Get deploy init. Beautiful. Beautiful. Alrighty. All right. that's that, man. The VFS copy is alive. It only took 3 times as long as I expected. That's actually pretty good, you know, like all things considered. That's
All things
not
considered, it's
bad.
not bad. So
I'm gonna
right.
close this out. Do you have any sign off comments? Good.
No.
Good.
I wish I had a trademark
so
outro.
this is what I
you know,
do. I
like-
turn to the camera and I say, adios. And then I click and snap
I
at the
like it.
same time. And then I'm